College football is big in town this week. Florida, Georgia, and Jacksonville. Frank Frangie, Justin Barney in Campus Corner. And before we jump into the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, Florida State is on a tear. Top 5 ranked team. Had a little bit of a scare against Duke last week. What do you like about Jordan Travis and the Noles?
Well, number one, they've learned how to win, Justin. I think the big thing is you have to learn how to win. It's not about style points. Duke was ready to play. They came to that game ready to play, and they played very well. They lose Riley Leonard when I thought they were about to go up 27-17. The Noles make a stop. But whether Riley Leonard's in there or not, the Noles have to go the length of the field. They got to go 96 yards, and they found a way to do it. I think FSU knows how to win. They've had some scares. Boston College came back late in the game against them. They needed overtime to beat a Clemson team. They probably got outplayed in that game. Duke led most of that game, but you know what? FSU understands how to win. That's having a veteran quarterback. That's having a veteran team around him. That's having a calm coach who doesn't let anybody get too worked up. They find a way. The Noles are really good. I think they're going to win out. The toughest game left is at Florida because it's in the swamp, and the Gators are very good in the swamp. But I think FSU is significantly better than everybody left on their schedule. I think they're going to win out.
Yeah, and you look at Florida State in that third quarter against Duke. It's a 2017 Duke game. And Florida State, you look at the final score, you win by 21. You're a comfortable win, but shows you how to win. And those Florida State teams when Mike Norvell first took over weren't doing that. Doing that. They got Wake Forest this week. Frank, one of the biggest weeks in town, one of my favorite weeks in town the entire year. You add it to Players Championship week or Jaguars home games, Jaguars playoff games. Florida, Georgia, these two teams meet in a little bit of a different capacity. Florida's gotten a little bit uncorked, and Graham Mertz coming into his own. Is there any way Florida can pull this game off?
Florida can't beat Georgia this year. Georgia's got too many dudes. Football's still about who's got better players. And when you have significantly more players, it's hard for the other team to beat you. Florida's a very young team. They're going to be good. He's recruiting a lot of good players. I love their young players. But it's hard for a team of 18 and 19-year-olds to go beat a team of 21 and 22-year-olds, and they're all going to the NFL. But you know what this game is to me, Justin? This is the Carson Beck game. He's waited a long time. He's from here. This is a kid that grew up here. He went to Providence, and he committed to play baseball at Florida. Then he decided to pursue football, committed to Alabama in football, then landed in Georgia, waited his turn. Now he gets to play a game in his hometown, and he's played really well, by the way. So tip of the cap to what Carson Beck has been so far. The patient. Nobody waits anymore. Everybody just transfers and goes to the next school. He waited his turn and got a chance to play, and now he gets to play in front of the home crowd, which is a really cool thing. And, yeah, I think that Georgia will win easy by the time that thing's over. But happy for Carson Beck that he gets a chance to do this. I really am.
It's really cool you mentioned Carson Beck kind of staying in the transfer portal, but another guy, Mac Jones at Bowles, did the same thing. He Bowles to Alabama, waited his turn behind some really good quarterbacks, and Carson has done the same thing at Georgia. But, you know, I think the book on Georgia was you lose Brock Bowers, things are going to implode. You can't be the same team. Georgia's kind of put that on its side and let Carson shine.
If you look at the really good teams over the years, I mean, the Alabamas and the Georgias and the Clemson, the Ohio States of late, the Floridas more recently, the FSU Miamis back in the 90s, losing one guy never really derailed them. Think about it. Think about all those teams. They are so many good players, and they learn how to win, and there's a toughness to them. They develop a toughness. They've got a culture where they expect to win, and no matter what happens, they'll find a way. Georgia's really good. And I think Georgia's got a schedule that's playable. The toughest game for Georgia coming up will be at Tennessee in the middle of November. It'll be a fun game. Florida, Georgia's a blast. It's a great weekend for Jacksonville. Fans come from all over, and we love watching it. And I think the Gators, by the way, are better than everyone thought they'd be. Graham Mertz has been fantastic, to your point earlier. They've been playing better. They play with a toughness. But that's a young football team that's going to have trouble in this game. I do think this. I do think they're not going to win this week. But I do think Florida has got a puncher's chance against 3 ranked teams after that. At Missouri, at LSU, and home against FSU. 3 good teams. They might lose all 3 of them, but they've gotten to where there's a puncher's chance. They're still a 5-2 football team and 3-1 in the league. I think they've got a chance. It's going to be hard this week, though, against a really good Georgia team.
Yeah, you mentioned the tough schedule. Florida closes with 3 ranked teams in the last 4 games. Georgia closes with 3 ranked teams in the last 4 games, including at Tennessee. That's going to be a tough one. Florida's got to go to LSU. They've got Missouri. They've got Florida State at the end of the year. How do you see this final shakedown between Florida and Georgia going?
I think Florida's going to lose to Georgia. I think Georgia wins that one 34-17. They've just got too many good players. I think the key for Florida, it's not about moral victories, but you can't get demoralized. Florida got demoralized after the Utah game and had to pick up the pieces. They were really demoralized after the Kentucky game, the way it felt after the loss. They've only lost twice, but both losses for different reasons felt bad. I think it's important to battle this game. Look, try to beat the Georgia Bulldogs, because if you win, by the way, you're in the driver's seat. In the East, who expected that? But I think it's going to be a tough challenge for them. But I do think there's a puncher's chance, Justin, in the games after this. I don't know if they're as good as Missouri and LSU, particularly on the road, but I think Billy Napier's got to believe. They believe in him. They like him and they like each other. And when you get to that point, you've got a chance. But this is going to be a tough one. I like Georgia against
it's always a great week in town. Of course, the game Saturday at 3:30 p.m. kickoff time, but also some great companion events. RV City opened today, and it's always great to be down there. But Florida Georgia Hall of Fame luncheon on Friday at the stadium, and you've got the baseball game at the baseball grounds on Friday night. Just a great week to be in Jacksonville. Frank Frangie, Justin Barney, thanks for joining. That's it for sports.